Are real rates too low, and is the Fed behind?
Well, it depends, I guess, on which real rate you're talking about. You know, the 10-year real rate is about 50-plus basis points. You know, what has it been normally? Well, before Lehman and before the crisis, it was close to 2%, and therein lies the rub. And the question, I suppose, for Chairman Powell, what's the new real interest rate, not only for a 10-year but for Fed funds? I think they're targeting a 0% real rate for Fed funds, which might mean if we had 2% inflation, a 2% Fed funds rate. That's, you know, perhaps 6 months away with 2 hikes up to 2%. But nonetheless, it goes along with what the market was expecting, and now perhaps with these wage gains, a little bit more.
Bill, I want to talk to you about some of the price action in the Treasury market this morning off the back of these numbers. Coming into 2018, big consensus positioning around a flatter yield curve. I'm seeing a steeper curve on a session so far. How do you think about that steeper curve at the moment, Bill? Is that just a consensus unwind of a big crowded trade for a flatter curve, or is that a fundamental rethink about the shape of this curve through 18, through 19?
Well, I've never been an advocate of a flatter curve from this point forward. Admittedly, the curve has flattened substantially over the past few years, but you know, many are expecting the 10-year and the 30-year to flatten and maybe for the 10-year to go higher, because it always has. I don't think in this particular case, because we see inflation moving higher, which is what the Fed wants, and you know, the longer-dated treasuries are inflation sensitive compared to short-term rates, and so you know, I think we go through this cycle, this mini cycle. It's a bear cycle, like I talked about, you know, several months ago. But I think we go through this cycle in a relatively mild fashion, notwithstanding today's action, but in a relatively mild fashion in which the curve, you know, stays not steep, but stays positive, and that would be for me a 210 spread of about 45 to 50 basis points. So not a flattening.